Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bree Buonomo. Hi if you're new here, or hey if you've been here before. And if you have been around my channel before, then you might know that this location means I'm here to do a book haul. So for whatever reason, I really like doing my book haul standing because I just feel like it's easier to grab books and display them. So that's why I'm here. And I'm going to talk about all the books that I got in the winter months. So everything from the end of December, January, February, and March. And I'm really excited because I have some good books, and without further ado, so this isn't 15 hours long, let's jump into it. Alright, first on my list is a book that I kind of already mentioned, and I can't remember if I put it in a book haul, but I don't think I did. And that is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This was gifted to me by my friend Rachel, who really wants me to read this series. So I did have intentions of reading it this year. I'm going to try to read at least book one this year, but I am getting a little overwhelmed with how many big books I've been reading. So we'll see where it pans out. Maybe over the summer when I have a little bit more downtime in my job, maybe then I will do it. But basically, I don't know anything about this other than it's an epic fantasy and it's Brandon Sanderson and he's huge. So I feel like if you know nothing about Brandon Sanderson, then I'm not going to be able to do him justice. And if you know who Brandon Sanderson is, then I don't have to explain this. So either way, I win. In addition to The Way of Kings, Rachel also gave me The Shadows of Self, which is a Mistborn book because she had 2 copies. So this is actually like the second series to the Mistborn trilogy. So it's like the first book of the second series. So I'm probably not going to get to this one anytime soon, but this book looks a little bit more manageable. So I feel like maybe I should start with Mistborn because those books are smaller than The Way of Kings. I don't know. But for what I understand, especially with this cover, is that the world is this one takes place a long time after the first trilogy, and it's more of a Western fantasy feel, and that's kind of exciting because I feel like there's not too many. I'm excited to read it eventually. We'll see how long it takes me, but hopefully this year I will finally read something of Brandon Sanderson's work. The next 2 books on my list were given to me by my friend Nicole, and that is The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd-Jones and Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. Both of these are YA books, and I just grouped them together because they both have skulls on the cover, and I just felt like that should be maybe a themed read for me because I'm pretty sure I have a decent amount of books with skulls on the cover. So let me know if you're interested in me doing a dedicated reading month of just books with skulls on them. But I don't know too much about either of these. These would be cover buys for me either way because they're both beautiful. This one I think has about 2 sisters that make a deal with the devil. Yes, they're witches. So they're witches who makes a deal and they go to the Kingdom of the Wicked, I think. I don't know. It sounds good. And then this one is by Emily Lloyd-Jones, and I actually have read one book by this author and really liked it. It was a surprise read for me. I didn't expect to like it, but I really did. I think it was her debut possibly, or the second book she wrote. But this book follows a teenager who is a grave digger, and the magic in this is that the bones of the dead will come back to life or something. So it sounds really interesting, and the bone houses are the reanimated corpse, I think. So I am either way. Eventually I do want to read this. I might save both of these books for autumn time because I just think they're very much autumn reads. But who knows, because sometimes I get in the mood to read something spooky in the middle of summer. So I'm just hoping this summer I read a lot. The next book I have to show is A Universe of Wishes, which is an anthology all from different young adult and some adult, I think, fantasy writers. So most of these, the whole point of this collection is this is a We Need Diverse Books collection. So there's certain ones in the collection that all have different takes on it. I believe one of them is A Phoenix First Must Burn, which I actually read and really liked most of the stories. And this is in the same kind of group. So I'm hoping I will also like these. This was included in a winter Owlcrate book, so I don't know if it's actually supposed to be winter related or if it was just a winter release, but I'm still very excited to read it. In March, a sequel to one of my favorite books of 2019 came out, and that was A Queen of Gilded Horns by Amanda Joy. This follows 2 women, but you follow one of the sisters who were in a deadly competition for the throne, and they kind of have a birthright claim where there's magic involved, but the main character kind of has a curse on her, and it's not a real curse, but it's everyone acts like she's cursed. And she doesn't really know her heritage, and there's kind of a big mystery family secret around her birth So when she is stepping up to start this birthright of fighting her sister to the death, everyone thinks that she's just going to die because she has no powers, and she kind of goes on a journey to discover herself and her magic and her entire family history. So this is the conclusion. It is a duology. I want to read this one as soon as possible because I loved the first book, but I think I'm going to do a reread of the first book because it has been a while since I've read it, and sometimes I just feel like jumping into a sequel after it's been a while, it's hard to reorient myself to the characters. I think I'm going to audiobook the first book in the near future and then continue with this one. I have a couple more Owlcrates on this list, and the most recent one I got was Sweet and Bitter Magic by Adrienne Tooley. I don't know anything about this book other than I believe it may be sapphic and has to do with two witches. And witches are up my alley. If you saw like my most anticipated reads list this year, the majority of the books coming out were witch related. So this was another one, and I missed this one. I didn't initially pre-order it, but I'm excited because Owlcrate included it, so I get to read it now. I don't know much else other than that, but I am very excited. The cover is beautiful. I really love this type of like portrait-y painting style that they're doing lately. I'm here for it. I really like it. I also received The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. This cover is gorgeous. I love it so much. Now, this is the Owlcrate exclusive edition, which isn't too much different, but the back here has like this beautiful mandala, and that is not included in the original cover. So I feel super spoiled that I got this because it just adds so much more to this cover. I think it's beautiful. So this book kind of follows our main character, whose name is Decca, and Decca has this ritual coming up to determine if she can like stay in her village, and they determine that by the color blood everyone has. So it kind of sounds interesting. I don't know if it's going to be blood magic related, but I'm always interested in blood type of magic or just things to do with blood, because it's fascinating because it does have so much cultural significance in like all over the world and history. But I'm assuming that something intervenes and, you know, maybe her blood doesn't run red, and that's why she ends up having to leave her town in order to survive. I'm not really sure. It sounds like a fun adventure. Like I said, I love the cover. I also love that it's not European inspired, so I think like the more books that I get to read that aren't European centric, the better, because I love learning about other cultures, and I also love learning them through fantasies. And the last Owlcrate book that I got was These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in 1920 Shanghai. So you have kind of like the battle of the gangs in Shanghai during this time, and you have the main character who's Juliet. I believe she was sent to America as well as France to study, so she's kind of picked up different accents, and when she comes back she's kind of an outcast in the society but wants to reclaim her place in her family's kind of mafia. And then you have Roma, who is the Romeo character, who knows something about her past, but they've fallen out of favor with each other, and they both get swept up into this kind of mystery that involves some kind of magic supernatural being that is just killing all of like both sides of their families throughout Shanghai and turning them into like some kind of monster, I think. So I was starting to read this one. I kind of failed because I got so distracted in other things, especially with my writing. But I think this book has potential based on the few chapters that I've read, and I am excited once I'm done with a couple books I'm currently reading to jump back into this. Next, I have two books that I won in a giveaway. The first one is What Beauty There Is by Corey Anderson. This one follows a teenage boy named Jack who, after his father goes to prison for a crime he committed and his mother dies, he's left to determine whether or not he can save his brother and avoid foster care by finding the money that Jack's dad stole and buried somewhere in the world. Jack has no idea what's going on, but he is just trying his best to keep his brother safe, and along the way they find a girl who is actually the daughter of the guy that Jack's father took all the blame from in this whole escapade. So Jack's father took the money and betrayed the other guy, and now this other guy's daughter is kind of helping them, but neither of them really know all the details. So this is a hard-hitting contemporary. It deals with a lot of topics. There's also a trigger warning that I will say in the very first chapter. The first chapter is like 3 pages long, and there is a suicide on the page. So just be aware that if you are going into this, this is probably going to stir up a lot of emotion. So if you're not able to handle it, I would advise against it. but otherwise it's a debut. It's beautifully written, and I 100% think that everyone who likes contemporary should definitely read this, especially if you like John Green or Mindy McGinnis. The other book that I won was What Big Teeth by Rose Zabo. This follows a girl who was sent to like a boarding school and then runs away from the boarding school and tries to find her way back to her original hometown with her family. But not everything is as it seems, and there is definitely a fantasy paranormal element to it. I also believe there is a rep of some sort in this. I don't want to say what the rep is exactly just because it doesn't actually say anywhere in here and I can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe it's non-binary or trans. I don't know for sure. I'm leaning towards non-binary because I believe the author is non-binary. So I think that's the representation in this book. But no, there is LGBT plus representation in here. And it possibly is also a sapphic romance. I'm not sure. So I know there's some good stuff in here. And also the cover is just so eye-catching, which is why I wanted it. And I was so happy when I got a copy. So I definitely love the whole like fleeing from childhood homes or going back to childhood homes and like not everything is right. Last year I read Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Powers, and I feel like this might have the same vibes, and I hope it does because I liked that book. And I feel like if I like that book, I'm going to like this one. In the month of January, I did a book exchange with someone through a Facebook group that I'm in, and that person sent me The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. This, I believe, is like a gothic thriller, and that's all I know. It's all I really want to know. I've heard some mixed reviews on it, but I feel like it would be something along the lines of if you like The 13th Tale, you might like this, and I did. So I feel like I would like this. It is a beautiful cover. I love all the little details, and I would like to read this. We're down to the last couple of books. The first book that I'm going to show off, which was actually another Owlcrate, and I forgot, but it's How the King of Elfane Learned to Hate Stories by Holly Black. So this is a novella that takes place in the Cruel Prince series world by Holly Black, and this edition has some beautiful artwork in it. It's also signed by Holly Black, which is why I got it through Owlcrate instead of just buying another version. So I'm not gonna lie though, because of the pictures in this book, this little novella is kind of heavy. Like you wouldn't expect it looking at it, but it's definitely heavier than my paperbacks for sure, despite how tiny it is. But it also has this beautiful like cover that's foiled, and I'm obsessed with it. So I do think I'm going to read this one soon because it is a novella length and I need some quick books to read because I'm reading so many massive books right now. So I feel like I'm going to get to this one, but basically it follows Carden's journey and the stories that he learned as a child, but also why he ended up hating these stories. So it kind of gives like a little bit of like a prequel feel to the character of Carden. Next, I decided to support one of my AuthorTube friends here, and I bought Can't Catch My Breath by Sarah Sutton. Sarah has an AuthorTube channel here on the platform, and she is so lovely, and she takes everyone through her journey of self-publishing. She has 4 books out right now, and this was her 4th, so I decided to buy it because, you know, she personalized it, but also because she's my friend and I want to support her. So she does have the AuthorTube page. I will link that down below. Definitely feel free to check it out. But this is kind of just, the 4 books that are out are all in like the same, it's like Fenton County High School, I think. There's 4 books that follow 4 different couples, and the 4 couples are all in the same school. In this book, you follow Addie Arden, and she's kind of struggling with the death of her dad, and she meets Vincent, who they're supposed to be doing like a school project for, and they're not really sure about each other, but then I think they obviously probably develop feelings, and it just feels like a feel-good book, and I love kind of feel-good books like this, so I'm excited to read this. In the month of February, I received my copy of A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. I already read this in full, and I did a dedicated reading vlog for this book. So if you're interested, go check it out. It is spoiler filled, so please watch with caution. However, this is the 4th book in the Court of series by Sarah J. Maas. This is officially in the adult category and follows Nesta and Cassian, as Nesta is trying to recuperate from her trauma, and Cassian is trying to kind of figure out what they are together and encourage her and help her process and grieve and move on. So I will say I did enjoy this book. For the most part, there were some things that I didn't think were healthy representations of relationships, but I thought the trauma was really well done, and I really liked the trauma journey. I do think there was some extraneous plot here that was unnecessary, and there were definitely way too many sex scenes that added nothing to the plot. So I feel like this book could have been a lot shorter, but overall it was fun. The last two books on this list were books that I did on a random bookstore trip that my mom had kind of encouraged me to go on. So basically, me and my mom swap books quite often, which when I say that, I mean I give her books to read and then she returns them to me. But she received a gift card for Christmas and said, you know, I'm probably not going to go to the store, but I typically read what you read, so here, go pick us out some new books. So I did. So the first I got was Ever the Hunted by Erin Summeril. This was a book that I had seen everywhere for a long time. Like, it was all over BookTube and Bookstagram. And then it just dropped off the face of the earth, and I never heard anything else from it. But the cover is beautiful, and honestly, it was $4. So I was just like, I might as well pick it up. It did interest me once upon a time, and I'm pretty sure I do. I have an arc of this. I just realized that. I have an arc. That is how that is how far behind I am with reading my books. So I have 2 copies now, I guess. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, I have an arc of the first one. I thought I might have given it away. I didn't. It's behind me. But yeah, I figured maybe this now will encourage me to read it since I have a hardcover copy. The second book that I got, which again was also bargain price, was The Emerald Sea by Rochelle Mead. Rochelle Mead wrote one of my favorite series of all time, which was The Vampire Academy, and I already own the first 2 books in this series, which is The Glittering Court and The Midnight Jewel, and then The Emerald Sea is the last book. And from what I understand, this is kind of like a court intrigue where you follow 3 different characters in each book, but each book is technically the same story. So it's just told in a different perspective, so that by the time you get to this book, you're piecing together everything that's happening in the setting of this court. That interests me alone, but I also really do like Rochelle Mead, and it has been a while since I picked up anything from her. So I figured I would buy this book for my mom, binge the whole series, and then give her all 3 books so she can read them because she also enjoyed Rochelle Mead's writing. But that is my list. That is my book haul, and those are all the books I bought in the winter months. So I don't think I did too bad. I kind of kept it under control. I really want to start reading all the books that I have in here because I'm running out of room, and unless I move anytime in the near future, I'm not going to get any more room anytime soon. So if I can start reading some and at least getting rid of the ones that I'm not going to read anymore or not interested, like, that's my goal. So I'm really trying to be gentle and not go crazy. And if I want to read a book that I don't own, I'm going to try to borrow them from the library, either through the audiobook or the ebook, most likely. So that way I don't have to keep buying the books, and then I'm only buying the ones that I really want. Whether or not that stays true, we'll see, because I do love buying books. I just love the serotonin boost I get when I buy new books, and whether I go in person or order them online. Let me know what you guys think. Have you read any of the books that I hauled? Most of this list was young adult. I did forget to mention all the categories, but other than Sanderson, I don't think any of these books were adult fantasy. That's just how it rolled. Let me know if you've read any of them, and any that I've gotten recently that I haven't read yet. Do you have a suggestion on where I should start when I decide to pick up a new book? Let me know. Otherwise, guys, that is all for this video. Thank you so much for joining. I post videos on Tuesdays and Fridays, and I stream gaming on Twitch on Wednesdays. And until next time, I'll see you then. Bye.